Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been a little bit since I've done one of these, but we're going to get back into the series of the Missing, Bring Them Home series that I have on my channel. If you haven't checked those out, go ahead and do that. I do have a playlist for them. I guess let's get into the one that we're going to do today. Today is on Morgan Nick. And gonna be, again, I do have notes in front of me, so I may read occasionally, just because there's a lot of information, and if I get anything wrong, it could completely provide misinformation. I know this one has been done a lot. Honestly, I had never heard of it, but honestly, no missing persons case can ever be covered enough until they're found. This one I honestly hadn't heard about until I started doing the research on the Matthew Crocker case. It actually happened on the, was it 10 years, couple years later, several years later, about 12 years later, on the same day. There were always connections with it, but nothing evidential wise has connected the two. But let's get into it. Okay, I know stop rambling, but let's start off by saying that I, of course, as always, mean no ill will toward any of the family or anyone involved in this case. Just that I want to bring it about in other people's minds and see if maybe it could reach more people that typically wouldn't see it. Like I said, I've never heard of this case until recently, and so I started doing more research on it. And I just want to make sure that I provide the most relevant and most up-to-date and correct information possible. So I do all my research on news articles. Hopefully those are correct information, and I just compile it in one video. So as always, I do suggest that you do your own research to see if there are things that I have missed, maybe misinformation or anything like that. So okay, for the third time, let's get into it. This story is on Morgan Chantel Nick, born September the 12th, 1988, in Ozark, Arkansas, to Colleen and John Nick. She had a 4-year-old younger brother named Logan and an almost 2-year-old sister named, I think it was Taryn, T-A-R-Y-N, if I'm saying that correct. It was stated that she said when she grew up, she wanted to be a circus performer and a doctor. She wanted to make them laugh while helping them at the same time. So she definitely had personality. She was described as incredibly kind-hearted and loved animals. And she adopted a cat at 5 years old, which she slept with every night. Morgan was a member of the Girl Scouts troops. And it was said that she signed up for track and then quickly regretted it and I think dropped out because she didn't like to get sweaty. So she was a true, sweet, kind-hearted little girly girl. So June the 9th, 1995 was just like any normal day where they had dinner. I think it was grilled cheese that night. And then some of Colleen's friends, her mother, had invited her to a Little League baseball game. So this night after dinner, they headed out and she took Morgan, her oldest child, with her. The other 2 children stayed at home and the grandmother babysat them. Now this baseball game was in Alma, I'm not sure how to say it, Arkansas, and it is 30 minutes away from where the Nicks lived in Ozark. I'm gonna intertwine, I guess, Alma and Alma because I'm not sure how to pronounce it, so I'll probably say different things each time. But Alma was a very small town at the time in 1995. It had about 4,000 people in it, where everyone knew everyone type town. If you ever lived in a small town, you know what I mean. And like I said, it was about 30 minutes away. She took Morgan with her, which she was 6 years old at the time. The baseball game started around 9 p.m. And around 10:30 p.m., she started getting restless, and 2 other kids, and I'm assuming what I have read is that they were her friends, maybe from the family in Alma, Arkansas. I forgot to say that the friends that invited Colleen to this Little League baseball game were from that area. So I don't know if maybe the friends also were members of Colleen's friends, if that makes any sense. My words are not wanting to come today. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's whole staying home constantly. Normally I'm fine with it, but my brain's deciding not to work, so I apologize. Okay, back to it. So the baseball game started around 9 p.m. Around 10:30 p.m., two of her friends, Jessica, 8 years old, and Ty, 10 years old, asked her to go play with them and catch lightning bugs or fireflies. Colleen originally said, no, it's too late, it's too dark, I don't want you too far away. Then one of her friends kind of interjected, said, it's okay, the kids run around here all the time, it's a really safe area. And then that was that. Colleen gave in and allowed her to go play with her friends. And Morgan wrapped her arms around her mother and gave her a big hug and kiss. And little did Colleen know that this is the last time she would see her daughter, Morgan. So where the kids were playing, it was still in view of the parents, so you just look behind you and you could still see them. It was a few yards away, so Colleen would turn around occasionally and check on Morgan to make sure she was there and safe. When the game ended around 10:45, about just 15 minutes after Morgan went off to play with her friends, just 15 minutes, not even 15 minutes, because Colleen would look back occasionally. Jessica and Ty came running up to the bleachers to be with their families because the game, was over. So they were going to leave, pack up their stuff and leave. So Colleen saw that Morgan wasn't with them, so she asked, hey, where's Morgan? So I think it was Ty told them, or both of them maybe, told them that, she's just dumping the sand from her shoes at your car. So Colleen went to look at her car, and of course no sign of Morgan. So Jessica, one of the little kids that played with her, she had said that they were playing together up on a hill behind everyone catching the fireflies. Ty, however, recalled that they had been playing in sand which had gotten in their shoes, so they went to the car to dump out the sand from their shoes. Jessica and Ty sat at the front of the car, whereas Morgan sat at the back of the car. And upon further questioning, it was found that there was a creepy guy that was talking to them that was sitting up on the hill in a red truck. Now the kids, they don't recall exactly what was said, but they just gave the description of this creepy guy. Now at 10:45 p.m., Morgan Nick had been abducted from the baseball field by an unidentified man. There was an immediate search by everyone that was still at the ballpark and the coaches, and when she wasn't found, the police were involved. Once the police were called, they arrived around 6 minutes later, and they searched everywhere. They searched the ball field, the fields beside the ball field, the parking lot, everywhere. They gathered information or evidence like cigarette butts, license plates. They interviewed all the witnesses that were still at the ball field, and everyone that did see something gave the same account as Jessica and Ty of the guy. The man that was unidentified, he was described as being a white male from the ages of 23 to 38 with slicked back salt and pepper hair, a beard and mustache approximately 1 inch thick. He was approximately 6 feet tall and 180 pounds. His truck was a low wheel-based truck. Now, I don't know what low wheel-based means. I don't know if they mean lowered, but the wheelbase is from the front tire to the rear tire, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not exactly sure what that means. Was it a shorter truck? I don't know. But it was red Ford pickup truck with a white camper shell. The camper shell was too short, a couple inches too short for the truck, and it had curtains covering the windows. Now that, in my mind, automatically just throws tons of red flags. I don't know back in the day, the 1995, if this was common. I know my dad had a camper truck, but we never had curtains on it. That just screams pedophile to me. But you get where I'm going on that, right? It's kind of like the white creeper utility vans that if one's parked beside you, you get in the passenger side. Or is that just me? Anyway, I digress. So let's get back to the guy. So he was described as also having a thick southern accent, also known as a hillbilly accent, and it was seen that the truck disappeared at the same time Morgan disappeared. So let's go back. So it was 10:30 when the kids asked her to go play with them, and at the time that the game ended at 10:45, The kids came running up to the bleachers with the family after dumping the sand out of their shoes. Morgan was supposedly still there at the car. So by the time the kids run to the bleachers and Colleen looks to the car, this man is gone with Morgan. That is like very, very short time, and so it just shows how easily it is for this to happen. And it's so sad. Just in a blink of an eye, basically, your world can change. Baseball fields are no longer there. It's a large parking lot, so I tried to pull it up on like Google Earth to see if it was still there, but they have apparently moved it. It is no longer there. I know there was a large parking lot, and that's where they were playing, was on the backside of the parking lot where the hill was, and then that's where this unidentified man was standing, leaned up against his red Ford pickup truck. Now, as I said, where the Knicks lived and where this town of Alma is, or the baseball park, is 30 minutes away. So instead of Colleen going back to her family and, I guess giving them the bad news, of course, I'm sure the adult family knew what was going on. It's just her sister and her brother, the little siblings of Morgan. She stayed for 6 weeks in this town to set up camp. I think it was she was at a volunteer fire station that was basically right next to the police station. And she made flyers and passed them out. She did several news interviews. She truly fought hard to bring her little girl back. I mean, that's a determined mother right there. And I hope, if anything, which I will prevent in my power ever, if my children ever go missing, that I am as strong and determined as she is. Now, the police did get thousands and thousands of tips. I think it was early on, it was about 4,000 tips. And they went through every one of them. They followed up on hundreds of leads, but nothing led to Morgan. There were so many tips, actually, that they had to get an additional storage unit to keep all of these tips in. So one of the tips was, it was reported earlier that night of Morgan's abductions that there was an attempted abduction on a 4-year-old little girl. There was a man that was trying to lure this little girl into his truck, but the mother was near and saw what happened and came running to her, grabbed her, and then she began yelling and screaming for everybody's attention to alert everyone, and the truck obviously took off. The 4-year-old abduction was also in the same town, the Alma, Arkansas, but the second, or another tip, was the following day in Fort Smith, Arkansas, where at a gas station, a man was trying to lure a 9-year-old little girl into the men's bathroom. Now, she was able to get away, so she was smart and didn't go in there. And I guess, obviously, at the time, he took off, or they called it in later. I'm not sure how that worked out, but it was Fort Smith, Arkansas is only 15 minutes away from Alma. I'm not sure still. So in 2001, now again, she went missing in 1995. So in 2001, a new age progression of Morgan and the unidentified man was released. Also that year, Unsolved Mysteries covered the case in an episode. I don't know about you guys, but I really miss Unsolved Mysteries. I really wish they would come back. I loved the intro theme song. Everything is like, ooh, let's get ready. I've always been interested in this stuff. With that, the Unsolved Mysteries doing an episode on this case, it brought in more tips. So that was in 2001 when Unsolved Mysteries did that. So 2002, we got a tip that was oddly specific and said that Morgan would be buried on private property in Boonville, Arkansas. So the police went out and canvassed the area. They dug up several areas on this private property and unfortunately did not find anything that came back to Morgan. I'm going to read this part because I've tried it several times and for some reason, I can't get everything out. Again, the brain's not wanting to work. Okay, so November the 16th, 2010, a narcotics officer in Spiro, Oklahoma was led to an abandoned mobile home that belonged to a known child molester that was doing time in prison. The guy that lived there had already been a suspect in Morgan's case. The police searched the grounds in hopes to find some form of DNA, but nothing was found. So again, that was in 2010. Let's fast forward to 2012, where the police thought that they had a break in the case. There was a woman by the name of Tanya Renee Smith, age 24, that tried to order Morgan's birth certificate online. The police obviously were immediately notified. They originally thought it was possibly Morgan trying to get her legal documents, or someone that had Morgan trying to get her legal documents. But unfortunately, after further investigation, it was just someone trying to commit fraud. And she, Tanya, the one that committed the fraud, was arrested and put in jail and all this stuff. But Morgan went missing in 1995. In 2017, on December the 18th, 2017, you remember that mobile home in Spiro, Oklahoma that was searched? It comes back in the picture. Police were giving a tip of a water well that was located on this, I guess, property that was related to another case. Police searched it, FBI searched it, cadaver dogs searched the area, but nothing again was found. Now, the police did say that this person has truly never been a suspect in Morgan's case, whereas in 2010 they said he was or had been previously, but they also said that they have not ruled him out as a suspect. And not to mention, this guy, he has been incarcerated for quite some time. I'm not sure, obviously not in 1995. There is a documentary coming out soon, this summer, I do believe, and well, if the virus doesn't push it back. But they are asking for any photos or video tapes or recordings of the ballpark at the time, that day, before and after Morgan's disappearance. And it is said that Colleen, Morgan's mother, is going to be heavily involved in this series, and that there is going to be information released that has not been previously released. So I'm going to be looking for that. I'm not sure where it's going to be. Back to Colleen. I said that she was a very strong, devoted mother. She has devoted her entire life to finding Morgan. And in 1996, she founded the Morgan Nick Foundation. Now, I'm going to read it here because I'm going to make sure I get it right. So the Morgan Nick Foundation helps families of missing children and prevention of child abductions by bringing awareness to things like stranger danger and sex trafficking and things of that nature to children. The best way to prevent abductions and, well, sex trafficking, abduction into sex trafficking, is basically knowledge. I talk to my kids constantly about stranger danger. I don't go into specifics as what happens once you're abducted, because I don't really want them to know that. I just want to know, I just basically tell them that they'll hurt them. But the knowledge is the first and foremost best way of prevention of abduction of children. Also, since Arkansas has renamed their Amber Alert system to the Morgan Nick Amber Alert system. And Colleen has also since moved to Alma, Arkansas, to be near where Morgan went missing. And I guess just to be, because the evidence, it lies there, obviously, this many years. There may not be much evidence, but DNA is still a thing. There could find it somewhere. Again, guys, I'm going to read this one because apparently I can't get words out. So if I just read it, my brain doesn't have to function as much. So I'm going to read that. Okay. Police assume the unidentified man was a loner and likely no one else knows anything about the man taken Morgan. So basically on their profile, on the profiling that they did of this man, he's not a very much of a people person. He's a strong introvert or hermit and hasn't told anyone about Morgan. Morgan's description, again, she was 6 years old, and this was in 1995. She was last seen with a Girl Scouts green t-shirt, jean shorts, and white tennis shoes. Yes, us in the South do call it tennis shoes, not sneakers. So, tennis shoes. At the time of her disappearance, she was 4 foot tall, 55 pounds, blonde hair, and blue eyes. That concludes all the information that I have on this case. If you guys know more information, please share. Feel free to share. Now, also, as always, if you guys know any information that has not been released, if you know something about Morgan, her disappearance, or this man here, please contact the proper authorities, and I will post the link down, the phone number, the contact information down below in the description bar. They say tips are still coming in, just obviously not as heavy and strong as they once were, but there are still, I mean, this one is still on people's minds. It was a big case. It was heavily broadcasted, and Alma is was a small town, and with small towns, things like that kind of live on. If someone goes missing or something mysterious happens like that, it lives on in a small town. So this has not been forgotten. If someone knows something out there, come forward, do the right thing, and tell the authorities. But that's all I got, you guys. I will try my best next time to have my brain properly functioning. I will see you guys next time. Love ya.